Hi, thank you for coming. I'm Danielle. I'm a co-founder of a recruitment agency called Found by Few. We specialize in product and design. I also host a podcast called How to Get My Job, where we sit down with amazing people in the product and design industry and ask them how their careers started, evolved, and what advice they have for those coming after them. So just to recap, join us today, as you've already known, you've heard their amazing presentations. It's Adrian, who's Principal Product Designer at Pearson, Aderonke, who's a Product Designer at Siemens, and Venessa, who's Director of UX at Dye and Durham. So yeah, let's just jump into it with the first question, which is to you, Aderonke. So yeah, you've had like a really interesting journey. You've been a jet setter, you've worked in fashion, photography, like it sounds like you've kind of done it all. But what would be good to know is, what was the biggest challenge to getting your first design job?
I got in my way. I talked myself out of so many opportunities because I think it took me a while to realize that actually I do have a shot, I do deserve to be here, I want this, and I'm the one that kind of got in my way. And it got to the point where I kind of said to myself, if you think someone's going to say no, then let them say no, like let them make the decision, stop making the decision because you're blocking yourself. So, and also the fact that when I did apply to Siemens, I didn't think I was the right kind of applicant, because most people that I work with all come from engineering backgrounds, and I'm like the polar opposite of that. But it's because of that I am there. Do you know what I mean? So all the differences that I think are wrong are actually right. So I was my biggest challenge.
I love that. Yeah, look, I love what you said about all the differences that you think are wrong are actually right. I think a lot of people can probably resonate with that. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. Adrian, you're next up. Your presentation was great. I loved when you talked about your background, and when you talked about your design and working with Hindsight. Is it Hindsight, right? He is amazing. If anyone hasn't checked out his YouTube, check out his YouTube. His voice is like butter, literally.
I've muted him though. I can't do it anymore.
Too indulgent.
It's too much.
Yeah, it's too much. Well, too much butter is not good for anyone. So, but yeah, you kind of mentioned, that you did a boot camp with Love Circular.
Yeah.
A lot of people are interested in doing a boot camp, or have heard about these boot camps. So what advice would you give to someone who's completed a boot camp and is now looking for a job in design?
I would say once you've completed a boot camp and you've done your CV, your portfolio and everything, try and refine your search. So do a lot of research into companies that you wouldn't mind working for. I think that the mistake that a lot of people make is that once they finish a boot camp, because the boot camp is full time and you're not making any money, you're kind of rushing to get that CV and portfolio out because you're like, I need a job now. But I think that it will do you better in the long run, especially if you have the luxury to do this, to really refine your search. There's something quite special about getting a job at a company that you've actually researched and you want to work at, instead of being somewhere else where you're just you kind of hate the people and the culture. So take time to refine your search after completing a boot camp for sure. Yeah. I mean, you deserve it because you've worked so hard for 3 months full time. So why would you then do something that will kind of scupper your chances at being able to excel somewhere where you actually want to excel? So yeah.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
No, 100%. And yeah, like you said, no one wants to work somewhere they hate, right?
So why would you want to do that?
Yeah, exactly. So putting the time and energy into refining your search and really thinking about what is it that you're looking for, what's going to make you happy is super important. And
can I add on to it as well?
Yeah, keep going.
Let me in a rhythm. I would also say, I think with my portfolio, what I did is that I had my creative designs in there, so stuff that I'd worked on over the years, but I would also say it's really useful when it comes to your case studies, to just have them reflect, I guess, what you feel passionate about. one of my case studies was about Aesop, and even though I love their product, I found that the website itself was quite lackluster in terms of diversity. So I did a bunch of research into that, and I redesigned it so that it would reflect more people of color and etc. And I think being able to speak to that in an interview, I found really easy because, you know, it's something that I was passionate about, it's something that I knew about, something that I knew about before actually entering into product design. So I would say that that's like, to get a bit more granular into it when it comes to your portfolio, really consider it. Like, don't just do like, oh, I wanted to do a banking app because, you know, banking is in right now. Do something that's like quite out there and quite, I guess, original to you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, I love Aesop too. I mean, it doesn't really agree with my skin.
Yeah.
But like the smell, the products, the fact that you can just walk into a shop and
it's a whole experience.
Use all the products. But yeah, that's really good advice. The more you can tailor your portfolio and your case studies to the people that you're speaking to, the better. So yeah, brilliant advice. Vanessa, your presentation / mini TED talk had a lot of like really amazing like advice and insights. So yeah, this is really just like an extension of that. You've been a design leader for a while, you know, like you mentioned, you've worked at some household names, Rightmove, Kazoo, you're now at Dye & Durham. So yeah, what are the most important skills and experiences a designer could acquire that would help them become a design leader?
So I'm going to say 3 C's. So the first one I would definitely say is communication. So being able to promote you and what you do inside an organization, especially if you're in a big organization, is really, really key. Also being able to get buy-in from stakeholders and other non-designers, again, is really key. And the second C is collaboration. So as I've grown as a leader, I actually spend less time with designers and more time with other non-designers. So product, engineering leaders, commercial stakeholders. And I'm there to give a view of like a design view or a user perspective. So really get used to being able to collaborate with other people who are not designers. And the third one is a commercial kind of outlook, right? So really understand the commercials of a business, understand the business goals, and be able to articulate how design can meet some of those goals. So those are the 3 things that I would say are really, really key if you want to be a design leader.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant advice. I'll just like add to that with the commercial sense. We get that a lot actually on the podcast from design leaders and as to how important that is. Communication always comes up, like that is such a big one. And collaboration, like you said, like a lot of people think it's just within design, but actually going out and collaborating with engineers and other people in different disciplines and functions is just as important. So yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that, Venessa. And we've now come to my favorite question, which a lot of people hate, which is, what's the best career advice you've ever been given? And that's to whoever wants to go first.
You're all smiling at me. Best piece of advice is delay is not denial, because it will happen, but like in its own time. So, you know, just literally stay in your lane, stay hydrated, and just let things come to you. So yeah.
Yeah, love that. Get it on a t-shirt.
I can't take credit. There's an amazing PR woman who's also called Ronke, and when I used to have Twitter or X, she tweeted it one day, and I just was like, yeah, delay is not denial, and it just always stuck with me. So yeah, I can't take credit, unfortunately.
Love it. Who wants to go next?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna like speak to I don't know, like I'm trying to think of advice, but I don't think I really have received career advice, more so examples. So like sort of like physical examples of people like switching careers. So I'd say like, you know, this may be corny, but my mum is a really good example of someone who's sort of, she shifts and changes in terms of career. she like has a lot of strings to her bow, and I've kind of like taken that as an example and a learning point for myself to just maintain that level of to be as malleable as her, and to like really not just do only one thing, to have several streams of income, as she likes to say. So yeah, I'm trying to kind of like really learn from that, and just kind of learn from her example as well. And even my like my friends and everyone who's here right now, they're good examples to me too. Like during the pandemic, I was in the trenches for like the first 9 months, and I managed to call myself out because I saw people around me. They were still doing things. They were still, doing a bunch of their creative stuff, still making money some way somehow, but also still feeling fulfilled. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna continue on this journey of like digital illustration, even though what I'm producing at the moment is a bit like meh. I'll try and continue to perfect the craft and get it to somewhere. So not so much like words, but more so like physical examples, like the embodiment of what I kind of want to chase. So yeah.
Yeah, no, that is really important as well. I think, Ronke, you mentioned earlier the importance of surrounding yourself with people that not only give you good energy, but are like good examples and people you can like vibe off, but also that can, like you said, just give you that inspiration. And I think your presentation, Adrian, like really encapsulated that, like the idea of having many strings to your bow, and the fact that you've got your prints and all the artwork that you do, and then also you going into design. And
I mean, like what helps is when you're kind of like forced to do that because you're broke, but at the same time, it's like an invaluable skill because you take it with you. So yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, but you never know where it could lead, right?
Yeah,
you running in between flannels and
I know, right?
shoes.
Yeah, but no, it was amazing. I don't take it for granted at all. Yeah.
Venessa?
I would say work smart and not hard. I think coming from a working class background, it's very much ingrained in me. Just work hard, someone will see you, you'll get promoted, and they'll see your hard work. It doesn't work that way. Especially in tech. I think it's just being smart in the way you do things and the way you approach things, but also getting in front of the right people. And I go back to why your network is really important, is making those smart kind of connections as well, like being intentional with the connections that you make. I know it sounds icky, but just do it, because white people are doing it and everyone else is doing it. We just need to do it, and just be really intentional. If you want to speak to a design leader, or if you want to speak to a recruiter, or someone who's got connections, speak to them, talk to them, and be really intentional about your network, and just don't just work all hours of the day just because this is the thing that you've been doing. Do something because you're going to get something out of it. Like, just be really selfish and do that, because everyone else is doing it. So just do it.
And I like what you said about, like not only putting yourself out there, but the like networking is so important. There's like, I'm going to say it's like the cheesiest line ever, but your network is your net worth. I know it's very cheesy. I know.
Isn't that from a Drake song? Isn't that from a Drake song? Your net. Well, sorry. I mean, maybe it's.
I mean, I don't. Yeah. I mean, it probably is. I don't know if I'm cool enough to. I mean, yeah. I don't really listen to Drake, but yeah,
I don't either.
Yeah, no, it's from a Drake song. Yeah, as Drake once famously said. But yeah, it's so true. Like, those connections are so important. Like, it can not only lead to an amazing job, but it can lead to so many different opportunities, whether you want to connect with a recruiter or a design leader. Like, it's so important, whether it's for a job, whether it's for mentorship, like you mentioned, Ronke, and how important that was in your journey. Like, it is really valuable to do. But yeah, I mean, we've breezed through these questions. We've basically come to the end of this section of the talk. So what we're going to do now is open it up to the floor for any questions that you might have for our brilliant panelists.
Adrian, you mentioned you came out of Love Circular, out of a boot camp, and then you you got your job by really focusing on your portfolio and the companies that you want to work for. And I guess like I run a recruitment agency. We speak to a lot of people that come out of boot camps, and I think boot camps don't do a good job of telling people really what to expect at the end of those boot camps. And I guess we speak to a lot of people like, I finished the boot camp now, like not like I'm going to get a job, and it's actually really, really difficult to get a job after that boot camp. And I guess I don't know if there's anything more you wanted to elaborate on. Like you did two things, which is one, you made your portfolio, like you didn't just use the portfolio that Love Circular gave you. You went and then made it unique to you. You then went and intentionally found companies that you wanted to work for so that you could like tell them why you wanted to work for them. And then you could talk through your portfolio and show why you were different maybe to the other people that went to Love Circular. And I just think if there's anything more you could elaborate on that, because I just think that's so important for people to hear, that when you come out of the boot camp, unfortunately, it's not kind of enough to just go online and apply for jobs. You're going to really struggle. You have to do like more. And it sounded, you just had the intention that you came out of that boot camp with. But please just elaborate for everyone, because I think, or just repeat it again. Mm-hmm. It's just so important for them to hear. Like it's so key.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, coming out of the boot camp, what I also concentrated on was, I think, what was the design tool that we were using? It was Figma at the time as well. So you still have to do like a lot of learning around, self-learning that you were doing over the 3 months. It just doesn't stop after the boot camp. And I think that a lot of people thinks it stops and they have this portfolio and stuff. And yeah, I'm ready for a product designer job when you're kind of not, because what I found with the industry is that it's always changing. Like tools are always changing. There's always updates. You want to kind of stay ahead of the curve. I don't know if it's because I came from a certain industry. So I worked in fashion and marketing like years before that. And I came into this industry kind of like hungry. Like I wanted to sort of, really excel in it. So I don't know if that was my driving force. And, 2020, I was supposed to move out and move in with my partner, but I was at home. So that's what kind of like led me to really stay at it and really upskill. But I think if you're going to take it really seriously, you're going to be online and on forums, on Dribble, etc. every single day after that boot camp. And you're going to be upskilling yourself and not just counting on the boot camp itself. It's not like school. It's like real life. So you have to sort of like treat it as such. So I don't know if that answers the question. I would just sort of say that was, in a nutshell, if I drill down into it, that was my journey afterwards. So, obviously I wrapped up the portfolio, I wrapped up my case studies, etc. But I was still refining stuff. Like even though I finished my case study, I was still fixing accessibility because, I don't know, the font size was too small or something. The colors were off, etc. So I was still improving it, even though it was live. So yeah, and I kind of I was honest about that when applying to Pearson too. So transparency is also really key.
Perfect. Yeah, wicked.
Hi guys. So obviously I work in a recruitment company. I've been speaking to a lot of designers, junior designers, and a lot of them have been asking me for mentorship. So I want to ask the panel, have you guys had mentorship throughout your journey? And how did you go about getting that mentorship? Because I think, speaking about design and coming out of a boot camp, I've got a really good friend and he's like, Jay, where do I go? Who do I speak to? And how do I get in touch with these leaders? Because you go on LinkedIn and you see director of or leader of, and it's quite scary, even as a recruitment consultant sometimes, to message a lead of to say, hey, I'd love to work with you. So a designer who has to go through a recruitment agent and then speak to someone, what's the best way to talk to people of your level and to get mentorship from you guys?
For me, I've been ranting and raving about ADP List. I think it's absolutely fantastic. It's such a good platform because these are design leaders in all kinds of levels that are willing. You just literally book a slot. So you sign up on the platform, introduce yourself, and you can even say you're available to work or looking for work. And you find it, let's say, for instance, your goal is to work for, I don't know, IBM or something. You literally tap it in and it will show someone there. And you find them, shoot them a message and find a slot in their calendar. And if they can do it, they'll accept it. But honestly, it's a game changer. I was bragging and saying I have so many mentors. I'm like Thanos. But everyone knows who Thanos is, right? Okay, cool. Because Danielle was worried that people wouldn't know if I.
There are definitely like non-Marvel fans in here, so you might need to just.
Okay, so Thanos collects all the rings and then does that. But yeah, obviously I don't do that, but I collect a lot of mentors because I love talking to people who are doing what I'm doing, and weird, oddly enough, they've become my friends. It wasn't my intention, but it's just like they're willing to give you your time. So I will literally, if I've got half an hour, I will make sure I list out all the questions I want to ask, and then if there's any time left over, which it always does overrun because I'm just enjoying their company. But yeah, ADP list is your best friend, and that's like even if you're senior, even if you're starting out, for everyone, because you never stop learning, and it's such a changing, like fast-paced and changing place like this. So yeah.
Adrian, Venessa, do you want to add to that?
I would say definitely go to events like this and just speak to the speakers. Also, I would say you don't have to have design leaders as your mentors. There's probably like if you're a junior designer, just find a senior designer who's willing to talk to you. That's probably a bit more attainable, right? Or other junior designers, maybe a junior designer who's working at Meta, for example. So I think it's not just about trying to find this great design leader or director of design who can give you advice. I think it does also depend what you want. If you're looking for a job, you could speak to other people who have got jobs and understand how they got a job, what their portfolio looks like, all of those kind of things. And they could probably give you some advice. I think it's if you want to go into leadership, or if you want a job, then that's something completely different. I wouldn't, I don't know. It's a difficult one, sliding into someone's DMs and asking for a job, because I get a lot of people sliding into my DMs, asking for jobs, and internships and stuff like that. And I don't really have those opportunities, but also I want to be fair as well. So I'm not going to give it to anyone that just slides into my DMs. So I think it's all about the connection, and making that connection in person if possible, and speaking to someone rather than just trying to slide into someone's DMs and say something. I think it's always a better connection if, say for example, someone's been to my talk, adds me on LinkedIn and says, "Oh, I heard you speak, blah blah blah. Can we go for a coffee chat?" That's probably better than just like, "Hi."
You don't know me, but
yeah, like, who are you? So yeah, and I think if you are going to do it, and I do advocate for shooting your shot, make it personal. Don't make it like a spray and pray thing. Like, why do you want to talk to this person? Like, what can this person help you with? And I think that's where, again, you're intentional with your network. Like, why do you want to talk to me over someone else? So I think, yeah, that's what helps build that.
I think all three of you would make fantastic mentors. Just saying.
yes, very true.
Dropping subtle hints for the audience. Any other burning questions? Anybody next?
Hello. Hi, Venessa. So I have a question for you in terms of stakeholder management. As you know, you're coming out of a boot camp. You don't necessarily have that. And I found in my day-to-day, that's probably the skill I have to use the most, even more than doing the design. So it'd be great to understand from your perspective, how do you see young designers or designers just starting out building that skill?
Good question. I think there's two things with the boot camps that don't help. Is you're not working with engineers, so whatever you're designing is never going to be feasible, and you're not working with PMs or stakeholders, so there's no one giving random requirements to you. You're going through this kind of perfect design kind of journey, which we all know if you are designing day to day, that doesn't happen. So I think the thing is just to remember that these people are people, and the power of just connecting with that person, understanding what do they like, do they have a dog, and all this other stuff, the kids and all that kind of stuff. But also on top of that is understand what they care about. So a stakeholder, for example, might really care about a certain metric that they want to move. So really understand how you can speak to them in metrics, for example, or like a engineer wants to know is this feasible? Can I build it? So talk to them about, is this possible? Can you build it? So it's really trying to understand the mindset of the different people you're working with, and then almost framing your conversations with them around that. You're not going to get it right first because you're not used to kind of doing these kind of roles. But I think it's really just trying to understand them from a human perspective first, and understand what makes them tick, and building that relationship. And everyone knows you're a junior anyway, so no one's going to be super mean, I would say.
Hello, Cody Okonkwo, Senior Manager Product Design for QVC. I've got a question for all of you, and especially the panel. So what is the most difficult thing you've experienced throughout your career growth?
I think for me, it's been graciously accepting constructive feedback on design work. Working my previous career, feedback was very fast, or you just need to get things out then and there, and it was nowhere near as in depth as it's been since working in design. So it was about definitely being able to accept feedback, especially when it's constructive. Not all the time it is, but tailoring my response to that when it's not, and also tailoring my response to when it is, which 90% of the time it is. And that's a skill within itself. This job has been so kind of interpersonal. I think it's improved my interpersonal skills tenfold than what it was maybe 3 years ago. And that's just by way of holding design crits and looking at each other's work and oh yeah, maybe you should change this, or that's not good, it's not accessible, etc., and stuff like that. So that's been a big challenge for me, really learning how to really take on feedback, using constructively, apply it where needed, maybe contest it where it needs to be contested. That's been my biggest challenge.
I would say dealing with rejection. I think as a designer, you have to deal with rejection throughout your kind of career. I guess people not liking your designs, and then you have to build resilience over that and it's not you, it's the designs. And I think even applying for jobs, right? It especially now, I think, so basically I left Kazoo in July and had 3 months off. I was a lady of leisure, but also I was applying, and the market right now is so hard. I think it's the hardest I've ever experienced the market, and just dealing with the rejection of not getting roles, or you think that you did well, you don't get the roles, but you still have to be resilient. And then LinkedIn, sometimes it can be great, but sometimes it could be your worst enemy, because you're seeing other people get jobs and all this other stuff, and you're or other people getting laid off and sending these desperate kind of I've been sending 500 applications. So I think dealing with rejection and trying to keep positive can be quite difficult. And I think it's just, this is where you kind of need to know yourself and know what you're good at, and what you kind of can bring to the table, I guess, and use that as the thing that gives you confidence, rather than other people. I think if you do get rejected from a job, it's just not the right fit, right? It's kind of like a relationship. It just didn't work out. You keep it moving. So yeah, essentially that's what I'll say.
I guess for me, I didn't know, I'm going to be very, very, well, very personal. I didn't know I had ADHD till April this year, and January this year. I honestly thought I was crap at my job. I just nothing was sticking. And I mean, my best friends are in the audience. I was literally right, I'm going to leave, because I'm not good at this, I'm not good at that. And then finding out that actually I learned differently, I was okay, now I know what's going on. Now I can work with it. So that it's still a challenge. It's not a one size fits all, and I'm still learning how to work with it. And actually, the minute I had the conversation with my team and my management, they've been absolutely brilliant. They're how can we accommodate you? But I didn't know I had it. So all this time, I just didn't understand why I wasn't picking up stuff. You would tell me something, and then I'd go off and do it. But then halfway through, I'm no, this is wrong, even though it's right. So that internal battle I had, and that was a bit of an upheaval, and I'm still learning. But I think it was really challenging because I didn't know, and I'm really grateful that I do know now, because now I can work with it and find out how I can be a better designer because of it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that was probably the most challenging for me.
Hi, my name's Frances. I'm a Notion consultant. This is a question for Venessa. I was wondering if you could speak a little bit more about your journey of becoming self-fulfilling yourself as a speaker. I don't know, like the personal branding thing is very hot right now, especially just to safeguard yourself against the rubbishness of the economy. So yeah, if there are any specific strategies that worked for you. Yeah.
I don't know. Right, I'm not really into star signs and manifesting and stuff, but I kind of believe in it a little bit now. Because basically at the beginning of this year, I gave myself a goal of like doing at least 4 presentations. And basically it just happened. I think once you do one, it kind of like it's like a domino effect. You get another one and another one. I think one of the things is just start really small. Like start with your brand and something that's really authentic and to you and something that you're passionate about as well. I'm passionate about problem solving, and the type of talks that I do are really practical kind of talks. So I really lean into that. So I think it's like knowing yourself and knowing something that's an extension of yourself, so it's really easy to talk about. But before doing talks, I was writing. So I've got a blog and I write loads of articles on there. So start small with maybe writing something or sharing some articles. It doesn't also have to be LinkedIn. So maybe your audience isn't LinkedIn. Maybe it's like Instagram or maybe it's TikTok. LinkedIn just seems like the place. I think the other thing is I was very conscious of not blasting out loads of noise. I think there's a lot of people on LinkedIn that just chat shit, if I'm honest, right? Or just like 4 tips to AI, like all of this stuff. Like I'm just like, no, I don't want to be that person. So there's a lot of things that I knew I didn't want to do. So with my posting of stuff and even with my posting of blog articles, I'm really, again, intentional. I have a schedule of when I do it. I try and I don't post like every day or like all the time, but I post regularly. So I think it's doing something that's authentic to you. Start really small and slowly build up your brand, because probably people know about me this year, but I've been doing this stuff for a long time and it's just kind of built up over time.
Who's next? We've got time for a couple more questions.
Hi, I'm Maura. I am a soon-to-be senior designer, and I just wanted to know, like, if you had any advice in terms of imposter syndrome. It's something I've struggled with for years, and it's one of those ones where, like, you would I feel like the minute that as you go up, you should start to get more comfortable within, like, your field and everything, but I still feel sick, literally. So as I'm about to step into this role, like, it would be like good if you had any advice, like, for like how to overcome that, or if you guys still struggle with that, where you guys are at the moment as well.
I'm really delusional, so I just ignore it. Do you know what I mean? It used to bug me, but I'm just like, whatever. Like, I don't pay any mind. So yeah, and it's worked for me.
I love that answer. So I'm really delusional, but it really does affect me still. So I have the worst of both worlds. No, I think that with imposter syndrome, I think if you one thing that I found that helps is surrounding yourself with people who, I don't know, will just uplift you, and will literally, will hear you out when you're going through imposter syndrome. I think that a lot of people, I don't know, I feel as if there are a lot of cynics and they don't really believe in imposter syndrome when it's really real. It doesn't even matter because you're going senior, aren't you? And it doesn't even matter. You can still experience it at that level for a myriad of reasons. So just like surrounding yourself with people who will empathize with you, have gone through it, but can also, talk you out of it as well. And that's just, what networking is for, I guess, having a strong profile on LinkedIn, et cetera, et cetera. It's all really cyclical, but yeah.
It doesn't really go away, if I'm honest. It just doesn't. I think the thing to ground yourself in is that you are here for a reason. You've been hired for a reason. You've been promoted for a reason. And it's not to do with what you think about yourself. It's to do with what your skill, what you've delivered, what you've done. So use that to kind of ground yourself, especially when you're kind of feeling a bit nervous or you're in a room full of big stakeholders that you need to present to. Just ground yourself that you are here because you're meant to be in that room and because people have recognized the skill and that you have, and just use that as the thing that gives you confidence. And that's what I do. I just like, okay, I've been hired. I've got this job out of all these other people working for this company, and I'm here for my expertise, and that's what I'm going to do. So don't kind of make it personal about you, but just really make it about your skill set and allow your skill set to give you that confidence.
What inspires you? I know it's a bit vague. We could be here all night, but it's been really interesting. But yeah, like who, what inspires you?
I think I kind of touched on it in my Petra Kucha, but I don't know, a bunch of things inspire me. There are days when I feel like completely uninspired by everything. London as a city and a construct does not inspire me. So what I do feel inspired about is when I leave, when I can get the hell out of here. Yeah, I feel like most passion for what I do, especially with my creative endeavors. So whenever I need to create something that's like illustration based, I feel passion from like my surroundings, whatever's around me. I really love fashion and clothes. So that really that's a big passion drive for me, just to put it really plain and simple. And yeah, I think my surroundings really affect what I'm passionate about. When I need to get passionate about work, and you know, my 9-to-5 day-to-day job, just changing location for me. I work from my home, I work from my apartment. The desk chair is a very comfortable place for me to sit, but I need to like leave because I'm not productive there. So I'll just like leave the apartment, go to like a workspace here, the office there, etc. So it's just about getting out and about for me. That's what kind of brings me a lot of passion. So yeah.
Similar to Adrian, fashion, arts. I love going to art gallery and just kind of walking around. I think just looking at just visual stuff. Like I really like color, as you probably can tell. So just like visual stuff inspires me. And I would also say just like, I don't know, people's stories are quite inspiring as well. Like, so aside from the creative side of things, I think people's stories of like resilience or how they've come to be where they have been always really inspire me, and I get inspiration from that.
Traveling really inspires me, and my siblings actually, because we don't have like aunts and uncles here and or grandparents, so we've had to be like each other's multitudes. Like my sister's also my aunt, my parent, my brother's also my uncle, like the one that gives me money when he shouldn't, and things like that. So like, and just watching where we started and like how we've all kind of cultivated our careers and stuff, that it is, that really inspires me, and the kind of life that we're cultivating, and eventually have our own families of our own. Like we've started this, my parents started it, and then just watching that grow. So yeah, probably my siblings, my family inspire me the most. So.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If we don't have any more questions, so yeah, thank you so much, and to our brilliant panel.